right, welcome back. Benzinga Cannabis Insider at MJUnpacked. Awesome event. We're meeting really cool people like Jacob Carlson, co-founder and CEO of EzHire Cannabis. Bet you can't guess what they do. Tell us about it though, man.
So we are actually the hiring platform for the cannabis industry. We go by the tagline of the Indeed for Weed.
All right, I like it. So you built a platform, like a technology for connecting businesses and lower, like staffing. I'm assuming not executive recruiting.
Yeah, usually like your COO or VP of sales candidates aren't coming to our platform to create a profile, so that's probably the big thing that deters those higher level. I think you could use the software if you wanted to.
Fair enough.
For us, it's really what we've seen is the biggest value, and we did staffing and recruiting for about 4.5, 5 years in the cannabis space, everything from your temp staffing to your direct placement, higher level. But we saw the biggest issue was really at the top of the funnel, where you're sourcing candidates that are actually skilled and have background and are able to work in those entry level to mid-level positions that have cannabis experience, but also are able to kind of like do the other side of the job as well, which is not just being passionate about cannabis or wanting to work in cannabis. They actually have the skills that align with that passion, which is a lot of what the HR and hiring managers that we worked with were struggling with. They weren't having problems finding their GM. They were having problems finding the bud tender who was going to show up at Sunday at 10 o'clock for a month straight.
Yeah, let's chase that down a little bit, because I think if we just look at our economy at scale right now, not just cannabis, it's hard to find talent. A lot of companies are having trouble finding good employees. Is that a trend that is replicating in cannabis? And do you see that?
Yeah, it's definitely something that we see in cannabis. The big one we see in cannabis is basically the entry level role, where somebody has this kind of mirage of what they think working in cannabis is like, right? They're going to hang out, they're going to listen to Grateful Dead, they're going to trim some buds, they're going to be able to kind of hang out sort of thing. I always am like, hey, are they going to show up at Sunday at 10 o'clock for their retail shift, right? That's what these jobs are much more like. So there's been this first wave of people who have got into cannabis making 15, 16 bucks an hour and say to themselves, I'm still passionate about cannabis, but I make a lot more money as a waiter. So they've come into the industry with a passion, thinking like, hey, I want to work in the industry, something that I'm passionate about, but I might not be skilled enough to make enough money in the industry to make a living. So that's part of kind of what we're starting to see a little bit as we're in those more mature markets.
Are you seeing companies react to that? Are you seeing them offer higher wages? Are you seeing them offer different types of benefits to keep their talent?
Yeah, it's funny. Some of the conversations, and one of the questions I always ask, even here at the show, is, hey, is it important that somebody that you hire at an entry-level position has cannabis experience? And one of the things I think that we've seen a lot of is that actually people are more open to working with somebody who doesn't have cannabis experience, right? Hey, if you worked at Home Goods for 10 years and you were a retail worker, right, we could teach you what a vape pen is, right? We could teach you what these other parts of the process is, just like if you would work at another industry at Home Depot. We've seen that happen in retail positions before, and what we're starting to see is those more mature retail workers coming into the cannabis industry and learning about the vape pen, learning about the distillate, learning about the different things, just as they would if they went from Bed Bath & Beyond to Home Depot, right? You'd have to know the differences between what you were selling and what you were working with, and that's what we're seeing kind of as a trend, which is exciting for us, right? It's not the people that might be the most heady with inside of the cannabis industry, right? But if you're a business owner, I go back to that, showing up on Sunday at 10 o'clock, that's what is more important than the legacy market and how we got into all these sorts of different products. So that's a little bit what we're seeing.
It sounds to me like you're seeing the normalization of cannabis a little bit, in the sense of it started with that base of people that were very passionate about the plant, that started these companies, legacy growers, maybe from illicit to licit. There's a lot of different ways that base entered this, but now we're seeing other entrants into the market that maybe aren't consumers even, and that's okay.
Right.
But it seems like our companies, are they leaning more toward one or the other? Sounds like they're leaning more toward the normalization side.
They are too, and one of the other industry kind of subsets of cannabis that I think that this really relates to is cannabis technology, right? Like which we're in, right? I worked in the sales department, sales manager at HubSpot for about 7 years, right? And the idea of like an AE that works in a SaaS platform that is also going to look at a SaaS platform inside of cannabis. They may not consume cannabis, right? But they know how to work a 6-week sales price, 6-week sale process, at $1,000 average sales price sort of thing. That's more of what they're looking for as far as understanding, like, hey, I can describe the differences between indica and sativa, right? If you're selling cannabis software, it's similar to selling other software is kind of the way I would look at it too.
Let's follow that train to kind of finish up here is the software aspect, the platform that you're creating. How big do you see this going? What's next for you all in terms of the industry?
Yeah, I think it's been nice for us to kind of settle in where we fit in as a business, right? We're not going to do everything for everybody, right? We want to be a platform where people that are hiring can post jobs and interview candidates from, right? It's very simple, slowed down for us. Right now, we're in a race to grow our database, right? So we want to have the greatest database inside of the cannabis industry.
Smart.
And then kind of work it from there. We're working with about 20, 25 customers right now in our beta set, and it's going particularly well. Everything from small shops to big shops, and excited to roll out to 14 states this year. So
nice, man. That's great. Awesome. Jacob Carlson, CEO, co-founder of EzHire Cannabis. We'll keep this conversation going as the economy continues to sputter, unfortunately. We'll all cry together. It's fine. All right. Thanks so much, everybody, for tuning in.
Thanks, Elliot.